the chat. There we go. Right, I've got the chat out. So I can public chat. Let's have a look at that one. There we go. Public chat. So that will come in now from my YouTube, our YouTube, and our Facebook page.
The only thing that's a bit crap with this compared to StreamYard, and for people, if you are tuning in already, we're just waiting for people to join. We will be this show.
Chit chatting.
Other guests can add their own socials in as well. So like I could have shared it to mine, and that's the only thing with Riverside. It's a bit crap on that front, but
well, I think I could add yours in. I just
you just
I
want
don't
all the
know,
glory.
but you need the logins. You need the logins.
Yeah.
It's easy for me because everything's connected. Yeah. Hi Bart, how you doing, mate?
I can
mate.
see the chat. Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, you should be able to. So hello everybody. Welcome to our live. So this can be a little bit of a weird one, guys. I'm obviously broadcasting on my YouTube. We're broadcasting on the Outcast YouTube, and we're broadcasting on the Outcast Facebook page. So we're across 3 platforms at the moment. So wherever you're coming from, you all get universally put into the comment section. So we will just talk to you as we go. One thing, if you're here early, we would like to discuss, myself and Rich, is the fact that we have a feature for caller call-ins, follower call-ins.
Are we doing it?
I don't know how it works.
Brilliant. Just going to advertise something and we don't know how it works.
So yeah, give us a little bit of time, guys. We're trying to figure it out. But what would be great is if we're in the future, just to say as well, Swano is not with us. There's nothing wrong. Well, there's plenty wrong with Swano, but there's nothing actually wrong with Swano. He's just been working out in the sun. If people don't know, he's a chippy by trade. So he's been out on a roof literally all week. And he's not feeling the best, to be perfectly honest.
Do you know what? I can't do it, Bruce. I can't lie to the audience. Swano went to Thailand last week. Okay. He sent us a message saying that he was going for it. We then got sent a video message of him running down an alley with some lady boys chasing him, shouting, "Where's our money? Where's our money?" The video cut out and we've not heard from him since. There's the truth, all right?
That's the truth. That's the absolute truth.
Hello,
so anyway,
Sharon.
guys,
Yes, I'm Richard. Hello. Yes.
Yeah, so in the future, once we can figure out how it works, we're hopefully going to be doing on our lives listener call-ins. So you guys will be able to call in. We'll send a link out on our socials. You'll be able to call in, and then anything we're talking about, you will be able to come and join in the conversation, and kind of like an LBC call-in sort of thing. And I know a lot of people have asked people like myself and many others to do it in the past. It's not so easy to do on your Facebook page, but we have this feature now. We've just got to figure out how it actually works. So bear with us on that one. I will try and find out.
I love how you've been doing this for like 4 or 5 years, Bruce, that, you know, you always like to remind me, I've been doing this for 5 years and you still don't know how to work your own Riverside. It's difficult though, isn't it? Like, people don't realize this technology is so difficult to work. Hello, Josh. Hello, Vivian Horseman. Oh, that's our Viv. Hello.
Hi, Viv. Hi, Viv.
Ian. Hi, Bruce. Hi, Carol. Hi, Carol.
Right. So, what are we talking about, Mr. Donaldson? There's been quite a lot gone on in the past week or so. By the way, if you haven't noticed, Rich is trying to be me. We've just been talking about that. Just prior to us coming on to the live stream, he was asking if we should warm up his filters so he looks a little bit more matched with me. So, yes, my post was very true. Richard Donaldson wants to be Bruce Unfiltered.
So I want to look professional, and I'm really struggling because I don't know anything about technology. And Bruce is like, you've got this, I don't know whether it's like an age thing or what, or maybe it's the grays off, but you've got like a mahogany tinge to your face. So trying to, and I'm very pale. I'm a proper, I'm not ginger, but I'm pretty pale. So, I mean, if I just took the filter off now, I'd be sat here looking like Uncle Fester with a dodgy hairdo, quite frankly. Samantha says, hi, folks. Hi, boys. Hello, Rami. Is that how you say it? Rami01. Guys, if anyone is watching this and you haven't yet hit subscribe or liked the video, the more you do now, the more this gets pushed out to more people. So please go ahead and do that.
Little like. By the way, the hi, boys from our hammy is my mum.
Wait, Bruce's mum's here. Go on.
Hi, Mum. How you doing? We're live.
I'm not going to make any comments like I do about Swano's mum. I'm going to be respectful today. Absolutely.
Yes,
Please don't talk about Keir Starmer. Well, Ian, you brought him up, quite frankly. Bruce. When's he actually going, mate? Because I've seen things online, and then I've said, because I think it was it August, September time he was due to actually go, but then I posted about it, and loads of people jumped on and said, no, Richie, wrong. He's already gone. What's actually happening there? I'm going to turn my fan down slightly while you explain.
Yeah, he resigned, so he's still in post until the 17th of July, I believe. So what usually happens in a situation like this is the leadership challenge will happen. Someone will challenge as leader. It appears that that's not happening because anyone that looked like they were going to potentially become a leader or challenge Starmer for the leadership, along with Burnham, have all pulled out. Wes Streeting's now behind Burnham. I think one of the other names that was being touted was Miliband, but he's now being touted as the next chancellor. That's the last bloody thing we need. So effectively what they're saying now is there isn't going to be a leadership challenge. Starmer will resign on the 7th, or officially leave post on the 17th of July, and Burnham will just take over. Because effectively from the Labour Party's own ruling, like from the NEC and probably the wider Fabian Society, but the ruling in the NEC is that a leadership challenge has to take place and the members of Labour would vote on who they wanted as a leader. So the nominations would go up. There's usually like a knockout thing that happens where you'd get 4 people go up to challenge someone. They would all then pitch their cases. It then goes into like knockout phases, and the members would eventually vote the person they want in based on policy and stuff they were talking about. So it's a complete and utter farce because it looks like there's no challenge, and he's just going to step straight in as an unelected prime minister. Not even elected inside their own ecosystem. It's scandalous. It's absolutely scandalous. But yeah,
it's a mess, isn't it, mate? It's an absolute mess, all of it. Do you think there's any like political answer to this? Do you think there's any like way that we can fix this country politically? Because a lot of people are saying, oh, it's got to be activism, you know, we've got to take to the streets. A lot of people saying, oh, it's going to be civil war or civil unrest. Other people are saying, no, it's got to be done at the ballot box. Like, is it a mixture of all these things, do you think? Or what do you reckon?
Well, I think yes, because I think we've spoke about this many times before. I think too many people have given up on petitions, given up on protesting, given up on the legal routes you can go down. And obviously we've spoke about this before. There's a lot of people online who will shout these things and never ever take part in any of this stuff. But you have to do it through the legal process. And unfortunately, it's a process. I mean, first past the post, as an example, has been around for 160 years. Like that's voting system has been around for 160 years. Most people don't know this, but in 2011, the government did actually give people a chance to vote on a different voting system called the alternative vote, which isn't much. It's a little bit better than first past the post, but it's a very similar system, works similar to it. So that happened in 2011. Guess how many of the registered voters turned out for that? Oh, it's scandalously low, 41%.
Wow.
So 59% of people didn't even bother with it. To be fair, it was a bit of a nothing vote anyway, because they're two very similar systems that it wouldn't have made much difference. But I think PR for me has always been the best option. But going back to what you said, you need a government in that first is prepared to change the voting system, 2, prepared to rip up or shake up how quangos, NGOs, the civil service runs. There are a lot of people inside the civil service who are paid vastly bigger sums of money than most MPs, even the Prime Minister. These people are in very senior positions for lengthy periods of time. You ain't getting these people out quickly. And we're not just talking about some little office full of people. We're talking about a 20,000 strong army of senior management who, for all intents and purposes, have been in part of that ecosystem for the best part of 20 to 30 years. Some of them have gold-plated pensions waiting for them. Some of these people are on 200 grand a year, and they basically dictate everything. Like, it's very easy for a politician to turn, and this is every politician, it's easy for Reform to turn around and say, we're going to do this, or Restore, or Labour, or Conservative. It doesn't matter. It's very easy for them to turn around and say, this is what we're going to do. Pushing it actually through the civil service and getting it approved and getting them to not delay it is a completely different story. So you need people with a backbone that are going to go in and shake that system up. And unfortunately, whether people want to hear it or not, it doesn't matter who gets in. We're talking like a 10-year process. There is no situation, none, at all, where anyone goes into that parliament, rips it all apart overnight or over a week's period, and everything suddenly gets fixed. It just ain't gonna. And that's whether you go to the extreme violent. I mean, let's just say, hypothetically, let's say 10,000 people descended on Parliament and decided to take over Parliament. Then what? Then what? What, does tax suddenly change? Does your electric suddenly get cheaper? What? Do you know what I mean? And throughout history, there are examples of this in far less complex systems than what we have with regard to technology, the internet, the way things work. What do people think they're going to change? Like, what is this radical change that's going to happen? This is going to be incremental over time, and it's going to need some people with some balls to stand up to the blob, to basically turn around and say, we don't need these quangos, we don't need these DEI frameworks, and start pulling them apart.
They've got to be so clever, though, haven't they? Because that's what Liz Truss tried to do years ago. And I like Liz Truss. I don't care what anyone says. I think she had the right idea. She was a bit of a bull in a china shop, but she tried to do that, mate. And she lasted less than, what was it, a lettuce or a cabbage, people? What was it?
The cabbage was there for 6 weeks.
The cabbage? Yeah,
filming it. Yeah.
So how it's, I guess, I mean, I don't want to get too serious. Do you know what I mean? We were going to be doing quite a light-hearted little live here, but like, you've got Ian here in the comments. You've got Carol saying that we need a general election. How do you go after the blob? How do you go after these NGOs, these quangos? How do you go after the WF, BlackRock, Vanguard? How do you go after the WHO?
Well, first of all, let's take BlackRock and Vanguard out of this, because they're not even in this system. They're nothing to do with us. That's the global order. So we have to figure it internally. Yeah, internally, it's bad enough. It's bad enough. And I know people don't like hearing it, but what people have to ask themselves is, what do you want? Do you want a democratic situation where you put a government in? But I don't even, I'll not sit here now and say, do I think Reform are going to go in and turn everything around over a 2 year? No.
I bet you do. Hold on.
And people will go, but Bruce, they won't. Yeah.
They're not exactly getting their money's worth, are they, mate, if you're saying things like that? Come on.
But people have to be realistic. They have to be realistic. And I've always accepted from day one that depending on, it doesn't matter if it's the Greens, Lib Dems.
I think Bruce missed the joke then, people. I think he missed the joke.
Yeah.
Because he's paid by Reform.
Am I fuck? But this is the thing. People have to be politically aware of what they want to do. And it goes back to the same thing. Let's just talk the scenario through of what happens if people went in and stormed Parliament. What happens? How do people's wages change? How do we get a better defense budget? How do you solve education? Because someone then decides, right, I'm running the country now, this paramilitary group or whoever these people are that are going to do this thing. What are they envisioning?
It's what always used to make me laugh, like when I was looking at putting protests on and things like that, and I'd say, let's go to Downing Street or let's go to Parliament and stuff. And you'd always get people in the comments saying, what we're going to do, right, yeah, is go down there, yeah, to Downing Street, right, and just grab them all and fucking chuck them out of there, yeah, and then
sling them in the Thames.
Right, and then what, Barry? Like, what, are you now in charge? Because quite frankly, like, I don't really fancy your chances as a country if you're running the show, mate. Like, and
Rich, kind of missing the wider point of 20 to 25,000 civil servants are still sitting there that pretty much run the bloody country.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Like, that's going to change nothing. All you're going to do is impose major restrictions on the general public. You're going to end up with some sort of military and policing clampdown and lockdowns. And they're basically just going to turn around and say, right, you lot have just proved a point. That's it. And we're all done. So it has to be done democratically. And I've said this before, I'll say it again. Do I think everything is perfect? Do I think there's a perfect political party out there? No. But we need something. I mean, you then have to make the distinction. What side do you want to go down? Are you starting to err a bit more towards the Conservatives now because Kemi Badenoch is saying some clever things in PMQs? They're still the same political party they've been for the last 300 years. Nothing's going to change with them. Are Reform perfect? No. Are the Greens going to be a disaster? Yes. Have Labour done anything to fix anything that they claimed they were going to do with it? No, because it's just the same. And it comes down to, I believe, the councils and the wider NGO networks and your regulators like Ofsted, Ofwat, Ofcom. Just look at Ofwat for a start. Yeah, our energy bills are going up again. in a few months' time by 213 quid. Now, the government could step in and overrule them because they effectively are created by the government. They're not some independent regulator. The government put them in place to regulate that system. And yet all they seem to do is crank people's bills up. Have you heard the stuff about water?
Do people know, do you know, Bruce, do you know how much, what the percentages of your energy bill right now that you're paying, that I'm paying for your gas and electric? Do you know what percentage of that is tax?
Something like 40%, isn't it?
55% is tax, right? And it's all this net zero shit, and it's broken down to like carbon headroom tax, carbon efficiency tax. It's broken down into carbon distribution tax. Like, it's broken down into all these different little bits and pieces that essentially it means that for every £100 that you spend for your gas and electric, £55 of that is just tax for net zero, to save the planet in a country where we contribute less than 1% of the global emissions. It is insane. It is nuts. And then you look at what's happening with the North Sea. I mean, is it? It's not Denmark, is it? Is it Norway? Norway are drilling in our part of the North Sea, extracting our oil, taking it back home with them, and then selling it back to us at like, is it like 2.8%?
And they've got a 2 trillion wealth fund, mate. 2 trillion wealth fund. We've got a 3 trillion debt.
Yeah, it's insane. It's
a completely broken government from top to bottom. And I'm not just talking about part. Like, the whole thing is broken, and that's going to take time to fix. Look at the water. Have you heard about the hosepipe ban? The hosepipe ban in Kent now. It's fucking scandalous.
On an island.
It's scandalous, mate. So they're basically turning around to people. Do you know that people, if they use their hosepipe and they're caught by the council, they get £1,000 fine if they're caught using water throughout this water shortage? Yet the Ofwat's own published statistics, Southeast Water have been wasting 100 million litres of water a day in broken infrastructure because they don't fix the pipes. But guess what part of your water bill is a standard rate to fix the infrastructure. Do you know how much the shareholders got in last year? The shareholders, over 100 million in bonuses. That money is just being taken by these companies, and the government does nothing about it. That's the problem. You've got a government with no backbone that is holding these to account. And do you know why? Because vast majority of those people in Labour and the Conservatives, they're the only ones we can blame because they're the only ones who've run this country, have been lobbying for these organisations to get themselves elected. They all get backhanded donations in their campaign funding off of them. And then where do they go when they leave their positions? They end up on the board of directors or as shareholders of these companies. The whole thing is so corrupt. Like, people think you're just going to walk in and turn this over overnight. It's going to take ages, so long. And at the forefront of it, you need people with a backbone that are actually going to force their hand on this.
Well, we've just had Stupidity Mirror comment on YouTube saying, you do realise we have no reservoirs and the billionaires have all the money, so we can't pay to build more. But then he's also said, you do realise we can't drill the oil and keep it. It must be sold at market price. Now, no, we can keep our oil. We absolutely can. That's a lie.
They've legislated not to.
Yeah, they've legislated not to. We, don't get me wrong, like, we would enter the global market and we would sell oil like everyone else does. However, it's our oil. We would get to keep some of that. We could keep a large
We
chunk
keep the
of it
money,
if we wanted
mate, Rich, forget the oil. We keep the bloody money from it
Well, this
and
is the thing.
reinvest it in, guess what? Building reservoirs.
Yeah, infrastructure.
It's not rocket science.
You could literally take, there are so many avenues you could go down. You know, off the back of the oil sales themselves, you could kind of, what would be the right word? You could kind of subsidise what we're paying in this country for our bills. There's so much you could do with it. It's not a case of, well, if we drill it, we've got to give it all over to the global market. Like, that's just not how it works, unless I'm completely wrong, Bruce.
No, I mean, there is a requirement. You do go into there is a requirement for supply and demand.
But we would benefit from drilling our own oil.
Yes, but you'd benefit from the sale.
Yeah.
And you reinvest the money into the infrastructure. That's the point. That's exactly what Norway have done. They've created a 2 trillion wealth fund. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, there's probably like Norway is not the perfect place because they do have quite high taxes there, but they also have a very different tax systems to us. But they have stuff that works. People don't mind paying high taxes because their buses are on time. Their network, their railroads are maintained. They don't have blackouts. They don't have this shit and nonsense that we have, and they have a very clean, tidy, and efficient country. And then when you've got, and that just transcends through all of their industry, through their ecosystem, that everything works. The police are funded correctly. Their borders, I mean, I don't know about their borders because I think they had a very similar policy to us and started prior to it, but I think they've started kicking people out and shutting it down. It always seems that everybody else is ahead of us when we're supposed to be this innovative global leader in things, but I think we've gone so downhill in the last 15 years at least.
Oh,
it's
massively.
gone so downhill.
Massively. I mean, there's people in the comments here saying, you know, it's because of the billionaires. David Rado, I hope 1784. I hope I'm saying that right. He says you can't blame the wealthy for all the problems, and I think he's absolutely right. I mean, the top 1% of income tax payers, or sorry, not income tax, the top 1% of taxpayers in this country take on like a third of the tax burden for the whole country. So upping the tax for, and this is the thing, okay? People are seeing these Green Party policies, which to look at you go, yeah, tax the rich more. We're already taxing them through the roof to the point where we are hemorrhaging millionaires and billionaires from this country. They're going elsewhere. They're not, and when they take their companies with them, they're not employing people. They're not generating wealth. It's not being put back into this country. It's going elsewhere. It's deeply problematic to create a system that benefits these people if they were to leave the country and essentially leave us without the money makers, if you like. This guy's come back. He might be able to answer this one, Bruce. This is YouTube viewing gone. He says, so you're saying Donald Trump is right when he says open up the North Sea, sort out immigration and change the mayor of London? Yeah, I think that would help a lot. It wouldn't solve all of our problems, but I think it would be a good step.
It's a step in the right direction. Yeah. And it's not, and this is the funny thing, it's not like we're saying we've got to bleed the North Sea dry, but there is another nation who have access to it that are doing it, and their country is stable because of it. And this doesn't mean abandoning net zero. Well, for me, net zero is a fucking scam anyway, because it's just a replacement of fossil. It's the replacement of one system with another, and it'll always be profiteering. It's already been proven to be profiteering vastly across the globe. Less efficient than what we already have with fossil fuels. The push for nuclear has been pretty poor, but it needs to be a managed system. Like, there's no perfect way of doing it. And I'm not saying we should abandon renewables. They just need to be done in the right way. And I think the recent news with the heat wave we're having is ultimate proof. You've got them mass investing in solar panels, which now don't work in extreme heat, because they reduce down to 10% efficiency. The wind turbines, we're paying to shut them down. Now turns out they're all full of asbestos because they came from where? China, because we stopped manufacturing and now import everything in, because we've got no money to invest in infrastructure. We've got no money to invest in our own industry, because just see how it's an ecosystem. It's a cycle. And just turning around and looking at everything singular and saying, all right, well, drilling the North Sea and shale gas and all that kind of stuff is nonsense, we can't do it, then bitching and moaning that we've got no money in the country to bolster our industry. You can't have it. There's a system of how things work. And the problem is it's been utterly mismanaged for at least 30 years, and particularly the last 15. And I think a lot of people voted for Labour because they thought they were going to come in and represent the working people and start to make some shifts towards a direction that did represent working people, and they've gone the complete opposite direction. Pushed hard on net zero. Anyone who knows about Agenda 2030, the Sustainable Development Goals, will understand what that is, yeah? But that's not the problem. 2050 is the problem. It's net zero 2050. And we now, our country, people don't realise this, is 60% renewable. Why have your energy bills not gone down? Why? Because it's all got to be paid for and maintained. And there are people profiteering from it. People like Dale Vance, who donate money like as third parties to like the Green Party, who push this policy because people are profiteering from it. That's the problem. And there's no regulation on it.
Because like you look at the the blades from the wind farms. Now they're not recyclable. So what they're having to do is take them down once they've got to their end of life cycle, if you like. They bury them, and then they don't, that's them. They're there now. So I mean, that's not very green in itself. But I reckon they're doing it. I think they're doing it purposefully, yeah, because there's no way with modern technology they wouldn't be able to make those blades recyclable. Okay, they would be able to do it. I don't care what anyone says. They're burying them, and I reckon give it 20, 30 years time, they'll turn around and be like, oh, well, we're going to have to pay for that now as well to get rid of all that, because now that's damaging the ecosystems in these areas where we've buried them. I'm just going to go back to the comments, if that's all right, Bruce. I like to keep the audience involved, and also it shuts you up for a minute, so it's a win-win, isn't it, really, mate? Stupidity Mirror says, we are not taxing the rich, and they are not leaving any more than usual. I earn £730,000 passive income, I assume he means per annum. I pay about 12% tax. That is not okay when normal people pay half their earnings and save nothing. I think it's quite interesting that he calls everyone else normal people. If you're paying 12% income tax on 730 grand, you need to have a word with your accountant, because you should be paying 43.1%. Also, last year alone, or compared to last year, sorry, there was an uptick in millionaires, not billionaires, millionaires leaving the UK. It went up. Guess the percentage, Bruce, if you don't already know. I bet you do.
32%, something like that.
560%. It went up.
What?
Yeah.
What?
And you can go and Google this now, anyone. You can go and have a look yourselves. It's on the ONS. It's widely available. 560% uptick in millionaires leaving the UK. So, stupidity mirror, I would look in that mirror if I were you, because you'd see stupidity. Now I'm only messing, mate. No, I'm not. The electricity price is still based on gas, renewable or not. Yeah, I think YouTube. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. Someone's written yes, gin. I don't know what that's in reference to, Sharon. However, strongly agree. Susie has written evening all. And then YouTube viewing gone has said, not surprised. Hi, Suzanne. They contain asbestos in them. Yeah, that's the wind farms that Bruce was just on about.
And this is the thing, like everything we're talking about, when you start talking about things like asbestos in the wind turbines, the fact that they can't get rid of them, what they will do is they will then put another 10p on the standing charge. And it will be another little subsidy. Now we've got to pay, and it's always us. It's always us. And people go on about the billionaires. For me, it's not the billionaires that are the problem. It's the corporations. It's people. It's your regulators and corporations. It's people like Southeast Water. Southeast Water. Their shareholders are. So you can call. They're not billionaires. They're just very wealthy millionaires, I suppose. And the people that are in the shareholdings and on the board of directors. Where's he just gone? On the board of directors. Put your camera on, Rich.
Apologies, I think it might have just overheated. I will be back any second. I'm still here, people.
But yeah, it's the people taking money out of the shareholding, which no one is. It's like you've got a regulator there that's basically allowing all this stuff to happen. And we're the ones who are constantly told, the 32 million of us that are working our asses off every day, our bills keep creeping up and up and up and up and up, and the money going into their pockets goes up and up and up. And it's not Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk singular causing these problems. It's corporates. It's the regulators. It's the financial system. And it's this government that's embedded in it and has been for hundreds of years with this lobbying and with these fucking institutions that are just doing little deals everywhere, and no one's ever held accountable. And we need something to come in. And I always believe in democracy, and I always believe in doing things the right way, and I believe that there's a process to do it. And I understand why people say we need to just rip them out and there's things that we need to do, but it's infuriating. It is infuriating. Trust me,
I'm just going to spin my fan round. I'm going to have to point it at the camera because there's smoke coming off it, quite frankly. It's so hot in here.
Well, see, if your whole room he actually is, if people don't know this, he's in like a not a tin shed, is it? But it's like what is it you're in? It's like one of those metal industrial units, isn't it?
Yes. So, as some people know, like we've got a baby on the way. We've got like a 3-year-old little boy who likes to just punch me at every opportunity. He just wants to play fight all the time. So, to do stuff through the day, I have to come away from my home. Um, and this is the result of it. I mean, what's the temperature outside at the minute? I think it was like knocking on the door of 40 degrees today at one point. No, it wasn't. That's a bit dramatic, isn't it? It's 34 today. So being in a metal container is not. It's not ideal. It's not ideal.
Not particularly nice, is it?
No, especially when you've got a complexion like me. Gingers do not do well. What were you saying, Bruce? Before I rudely slinked off then.
Well, I think it was just talking about the fact that it's whether people are obviously like to blame billionaires. We have 150 billionaires in this country, and a lot of them made their money externally. So these are like global people, yeah, they're the people who operate globally. It's not the problem. I believe it's just the corporations. I think it's these like Southeast Water, like Thames Water. They're not being regulated properly. The regulators aren't working as they should be. There's a whole pyramid of crap going on here. Factor in councils, factor in lobbying, factor in MPs that are put in positions because they are inherently linked to these organisations. It's the system.
Well, you look at these water companies now, for example. I think, God, I don't know the exact stat, but I think it's over half have failed their audit for like 3 or 4 years running. What are you laughing at, Brucey?
Sorry, I was just reading the comment from Mel. This is going back to something I'll tell you about. Carry on. Do what you're doing.
I think over half of the water firms in the UK have failed their audits for like the past 3 years. Basically, the water itself is not as clean as it should be. In fact, I think quite a few of them have been hit with these fines because the drinking water itself isn't safe by our standards, but they're still just pumping it out anyway. There's sewage in our waterworks, there's all sorts. And what these water companies are doing is looking at the figures and going, it's cheaper to just pay the fines at the end of the year than clean the fucking water and get rid of the sewage.
No. Yeah, there's that, Rich, but let me add another one into that. Then what else do they do? Oh, we've just their little subsidiary then starts creating water filters. Guess what? If you attach this to your tap, it will sort out all the problems.
And I bought one.
Who's
like
making money out of that?
But I needed to because our water is so bad, mate. We've gone through 3 kettles in a year.
But they're causing the problem, mate, and funding the fix for it. It's the same old story.
It's nuts. It should be. That's surely like a form of fraud, isn't it? Or if it's not, it should be.
Because it's not regulated.
And that's the issue, yeah. And also a lot of people are blaming these billionaires. I know they tried to do it to Trump a little while ago, where they were like, "Oh, it was in the run up to the election, when they just tried to go after people rather than focus on their actual policies and whatnot." And they were like, "Oh, you moved money around, and as a result, you paid like 30% less tax last year." And he's like, "Yeah, you would as well if you had hundreds of millions of pounds sat in a bank account and you wanted to keep as much of it as possible. The system's there." So, yeah, I did. To be honest with you, right, I don't blame these billionaires for wanting to hold on to their money. These water firms and all the rest of it, they're
everybody
scumbags.
Would do the same thing.
But there's not a single person exactly in this chat right now, myself included. If I had £100 million, £1 billion in the bank, I would be hiring people to say, "Look, how do I get to hang on to most of this money?" I mean, I'd do a lot of charity work.
Because you ain't exactly sitting there going, "Do you know what? I really fancy handing over £45 million of my 100 million wealth."
You just wouldn't do it.
You're just not going to do that, are you?
No.
And this is the funny thing, when you ask people a question about this, say, "What's your limit then?" Okay, so let's say you've got 100 grand sitting in the bank and the government came and said, "We're going to take 45% of that." All these
You'd
people
be livid.
Like, I'll happily hand over 45. They'd be fuming. Yeah, I hate that argument because it's
the thing is, and people go, "Well, no, I just would because it's the right thing to do." It's like, you don't know till you're in that position for a start.
Until you've got it.
Like the more you get, I reckon the more you'd want to cling on to it. But also, that whilst you might make that decision and feel good for like 0.3 seconds of doing the right thing, that everyone else is not going to make that decision. So why the hell should I? That's the point you'd get to.
Did you see this thing? I can make a good point. Did you see this? It came up recently in America. There was a senator in America, and he was all pro DEI, and they were in like one of these Senate hearings that they do. So they obviously had this Republican turning around, and basically it was all about. It was just about how they kind of mandated DEI through the military, kind of very similar to here. and about all these positions in companies that go to DEI and are exclusively given to minorities. So the guy turns around to the senator and says, "So you're all about these people should be given these positions, and the Native Americans, et cetera, shouldn't be put in these positions. They should be given to the yes, 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 yes." And he turns around to him on the spot and says, "Right, so can you resign your position, and we'll try and get a minority to fill your position." 2 years later, still sitting in post. Hasn't given up his $1.5 million a year deal, has he? But likes to tell everybody else to do that. It's just hypocrisy. All of it's hypocrisy.
Oh, massively. I mean, you see these fucking politicians, mate, who fly into Davos and all the rest of it on their private jets, and they've got, a 30-car entourage, and then they get there and they're like, they really need to clamp down on this carbon, the regular people. They want us to have, like, what was it, one holiday a year max, like they want to introduce. They're not air miles. I can't remember what they're called now. You'll know about it all. If you go and look into the WHO, look at Agenda 2030, it's all covered there. Basically, they don't want us traveling to the 15-minute cities. Go and look into all that sort of stuff. Meanwhile,
it's printed in
it's
clear
there,
as day.
and people go, "Oh, it's another conspiracy theory." Like, no, it's literally there. Like, it's and they're jetting around the world. Fucking Lewis Hamilton, man. Fucking Lewis Hamilton. I swear to God, if I see him, you like F1, don't you, Bruce? You're the same as me.
I do, and I do like Lewis.
You like Lewis?
Yeah.
He's a dickhead, mate. He's a dickhead.
I don't agree. Listen, this is the thing, right? This is the thing. I don't agree with half the things he says. I don't agree with his political stance, but as a British sportsman, I support him.
Mate, it's 2026. If you disagree with people now, you have to denounce them. That's just how it works. I'm joking, people.
But yeah. No, I'll never be like that. Like, I can support him for what he does in Formula One and still disagree with his stance on certain things. So I can actually share an image now. I can share an image. Shall I share it?
Go on. Oh, that depends what it is.
If
the type of image you send me, Bruce, then if I were you, I'd hold off. The audience do not want to see that.
So here we go, guys. It's pretty easy to find. The United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs, the 17 goals, basically, of Agenda 2030, which is no poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being, quality education, gender equality, clean water and sanitation, affordable and clean energy, decent work and economic growth, industry, innovation and infrastructure, reduced inequalities, sustainable cities and communities, responsible consumption and production, climate action, life below water, life on land, peace, justice, and strong institutions, and 17 partnerships for the goals. And anyone can go and read this information. Now, this is the thing, right? This stuff was pumped through education as early as 2013, I believe. And it's very easy. I think if anyone sat and read them and looked at that at face value, which is what I think a lot of the liberal left do, they all sound like very good things until you start going into the actual details of all the reports and all the changes that have been made on this in this implementation progress section. And when you start reading what this stuff actually is, that's where the whole Agenda 2030 kind of conspiratorial stuff, not conspiratorial stuff, but where people over exaggerate. But a lot of the stuff is in there. If you go back to the SDG reports on 2016 and start looking at how they were what was going on and how they were going to move forward, and there's whole bunches of information. You've got a whole PDF you can download. So the information's out there. I just think people are reluctant sometimes to go and actually read it. And that's where this entire agenda came from. And guess what? This is where the other misconception is. None of it is shrouded in law or is mandatory. It's all a choice. There's no framework that says any government has to implement this, which is why you then start to understand it is more of an agenda, a global agenda, because they are choosing to do this. 2050 is mandated. 100% net carbon zero by 2050 is an actual law in this country that they have to abide by. 2030 is a choice. And SDG 1 through 17 is a choice.
So Melanie Lord H3U has just said, she put lots of exclamation marks. So she says, homeschool your children! Now, I would love to be able to homeschool my boy. I would love to be able to. How are people affording it, man? Like, I don't know how, because essentially, like, one of you has to not work to homeschool your child. Like, I would love to be able to homeschool my little boy, but it's just not going to be doable. Sorry for shouting. Sorry for everyone's ears, by the way. I'm just steaming.
I was
up
going to
to
say,
get
what
my
the hell was
glasses.
that all about? Calm down.
It's yeah, it's a lot of people on. I'm not going to say on awake to it, because I always think there's like a little bit of snobbery to that when people say, "Oh, you know, I'm awake, so and so isn't awake." But people really need, and if you're frightened by the whole Agenda 2030 thing, like, share it. Just share it. Just get it out there, and you might, two or three people on your friends list might read it, but then they might share it as well, and encourage them to do the same. We've
Can I
got to get the
interject?
word out. Go on.
Do you know what I see the issue is? Far too many people like to share AI generated doom and gloom. Yeah, you don't need to. Like, it's printed on the United Nations webpage.
Yeah.
Get the actual image and say to your friends, have you seen this? Take it from someone who worked in education for 8 years. That logo is everywhere. You go into any college and school in this country,
Sorry, Sharon.
you will see that somewhere. That will be somewhere in there, and a lot of their frameworks and a lot of their policies and a lot of how they run education in this country is based off of those principles. And the principles are pro net zero, pro equality, pro migration, and it's all in there. It's all about, like, the part about poverty, reducing poverty, is is for us to fund this same shit in other countries, which is why our foreign aid bill's through the roof. Do you know that we funded, as a British taxpayers, we funded English education in sub-Saharan Africa about AI? What the fuck do they need to know about that for?
Do you know we spent 20 million on finding out if dolphins could be born gay, or whether it was like their experiences in the sea that made them? Because dolphins like to, like, the boy dolphins like to get it on with the other boy dolphins. Like, it's just a thing. So they spent was it 25 million? It was a
ridiculous number, wasn't it?
Have you seen it? Trying to figure out whether dolphins were like born gay or not. Like, I mean, we all know it's just money laundering, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Well, it is money laundering. Again, it's going into someone's pocket.
Yeah. Oh, of course, there's contracts in place for that. And I think, like, I'm not being funny, there are so many things they could come up with to, spunk that money on. But when they do things like, let's find out if dolphins are gay, like, they must be doing that as a laugh, mate, amongst themselves, like, thinking,
let's see what we can get away with.
Let's see how much. Yeah. So Nathan Sadler has written, question for you both. The government bans social media for under 16s to keep them safe, right? Well, yes, and so they've left Discord alone, as far as I'm aware, unless that's changed, and that's one of the biggest kind of social media apps for, like, child trafficking, child porn, stuff like that. They've left Blue Sky alone, which is like a lefty.
I think that's changed now, mate. Just to correct you.
Have they?
I think they
okay.
have. Blue Sky has gone into.
Good.
Yeah.
So he said, someone's put gay dolphins, total scam. I agree. Ban social media for under 16s to keep them safe, right? But they are now moving migrants to local communities near schools. Does that make sense to you? So today I got a message from a lady who lives in my area. She's been following me for a little while, and she said, I think there is a new HMO opening up in our area. Now, we've had no HMOs in our area yet. However, this one, I got some photo evidence. They absolutely are. And the worrying thing is, it is directly opposite a children's skating park. And it does beg the question, because there aren't that many children's play areas anymore. Everywhere you go, there's a fucking no ball game sign. Why do you think that's the case? And I'm not going to try and go down the migration route and the HMO route too much, because I think we do talk about it quite a lot. But
too much.
Why do you think that's the case? Because it always seems to be, the reality is whenever these HMOs pop up, it's like, oh, it's right next to a school, or oh, it's right across the road from a children's park. Like the
Are you asking that as me as a question?
Yeah. Do you think what do you think about that?
I'll tell you what. Do you want me to tell you what the problem is? So, originally we had social housing. Yeah, these houses would be social housing. And what's happened is organisations like Serco have bought them up under government contract, The contracts for housing migrants has gone to organisations like Serco, so they don't care. They'll just dump them in them. Now, the idea of social housing was it was close to schools, it was close to parks, it was accessible for low-income families to be able to get their kids to school, be in the centre of the community. That was the whole point of the social housing system, was to keep it in the community and make it so people who were on low incomes and on benefits didn't have to worry about transport fees and stuff like that. But then you get these corporations again. It's these unregulated corporations operating under government contracts because the governments don't regulate them or do anything about the profiteering. They're now buying up government contracts or getting accepted for government contracts to then put people into houses that should be being provided for British working class or poverty-ridden families. So it answers the question. Yes, they are putting them right next to schools conveniently because the fucking institutions that own these houses now don't care. And those houses should never have been sold out to. Serco should be mandated as a priority to give those houses to anyone, British citizens in poverty in this country, first and foremost. Then you wouldn't see this issue. What you would have is the not too well off. And don't get me wrong, like, I know we are a nation. We go back to the whole Benefit Britain thing on Channel 4 that we used to see that. I know a lot of us who work hard and pay our taxes get really pissed off when we see people abusing the benefit system. But then you throw something else on top of it that's actually technically worse, where you've got 12, 18 to 30-year-olds Somalian men or men from Afghanistan now living next to a school because of a Serco contract. It's a fucking joke. And again, it's profiteering, money-making, government contracts, unregulated, and they're doing it because they're taking these things away from normal British people. And people won't tie these things together. They just want to look at, like, boat migrants are the problem, stop it. But there's such a bigger system to it.
That's the really frustrating thing, because obviously a lot of what I've been doing for the past year has been like activism. So, it's been so frustrating to kind of get into the activism world, and I've fallen out with a lot of people, or they've fallen out with me, because I've tried so much to say to people, look, the whole boat situation, I think Raise the Colours is a psyop. I don't care what anyone says, right? I think the whole thing is a fucking scam. They got
That's a bold statement, mate.
Well, it is what it is, okay?
Yeah.
They got so much backing from GB News, Talk TV, from BBC, Sky News. Like, the Raise the Colours, the flags part, brilliant. But the whole, like, Operation Overlord, we're going to go to France and stop the boat. And then they raised, I think it was 350 grand to get, like, night vision goggles and bulletproof vests and all the rest of it, which no one ever saw. But then they put so much emphasis on the boats, and it's like, they're like 2% of fucking immigration, if that. Like, these people are being flown in under government contracts to, like, Manchester Airport on fucking belugas and, like, 747s. Yes, they're coming on boats, but they're also coming on literal cruise ships like P&O. They're coming on the back of wagons. Like, we know this is taking place, and it's like, no. Look at the boats, look at the boats, look at the boats. Oh, 700 people last week. Thousands. And the whole time it's like, look at the boats, look at the boats. Hundreds of thousands of legal migrants are also coming into the country every single year. Maybe even more than that now, I don't know. And no one's looking at it like, oh, well, legal immigration's all right. No, it's not, if they're not contributing, if they're not working, if they're not integrating, speaking the language. There's such a focus on illegal immigration, and people just don't seem to be seeing the bigger picture. So
yeah. And this has been one of my, and this has always been one of my key points, Rich, is I think there are a lot of people out there who claim to be awake, but they're so single-minded in their view. And a lot of the guys there, so Jin's just turned around and said, perfect, Jin's explained this. The government stopped people affording to be able to be a landlord and afford more than 2 houses, so that people sell their houses to the likes of Serco, get a good deal from them, then buy lots of them to get asylum seekers, HMOs. It's corrupt. And it's exactly right. You see Labour demonising landlords, and they sell it as, we're protecting residents. Yeah, what you're doing is they're talking about the 10% of really bad landlords that there are in the country, and obviously there are bad landlords, the ones who are splitting 4-bedroom houses or 3-bedroom houses and turning them into 8-bedroom houses, and with 12 people living in them. But that's a very small minority. But they paint that picture as the headline, What they do is then, through policy, demonize landlords to the point where they're basically saying that now renters have more rights than the landlords. The landlord who's sitting on a 350, 450 grand house is like, well, do you know what? Fuck that. I'm going to flog it. Because guess what they've done? Then, when they flog that property, that asset that they could probably pass down to their kids, that's their money in the bank, which they can then do what? Tax with new inheritance tax policies, new inheritance tax stuff that's going in, slam them in with business rates as well, slam them with in national insurance business rises on national insurance tax. So it's all part of this whole bigger picture, and ultimately exactly what Jin said is taking place. These institutions like Serco are then giving them good deals on their houses, buying them up quickly from them. They get their cash balance, go and stick it in a stocks and shares ISA, which they're now taxing that. Tax-free. Do you see what I'm saying here?
Yeah.
They are doing everything they can. When you look at something like that, when you look at it like, look at the policy of what they're doing to landlords, look at how the government end up with these buildings, look at what they're doing with people's wealth, and you just use someone like a landlord as an example of how they will cripple them every step of the way, it's insane. And the problem is like I did a video the other day about the 22% ISA tax. Now, don't get me wrong. The 20,000 limit, 20 grand was more. I think it should be 50. I think you should be able to put 50 grand into an ISA, and that should be untouched. Like because what's 50 grand these days? When my boy turns 18, I could probably take 8 grand out of that just to get him a fucking driving license. By the time in 15 years time, when he's
a mate of mine's paying like I think it's £150 an hour.
Yes,
for his lessons now. Like,
and did you hear about the scam behind that? It's fucking ridiculous.
No,
mate.
but I'm not going to go back into the immigration thing. One thing I have noticed in my local area is that every time there is a learner driver on the road, they don't look like they've been here very long. There's a lot of contracts going on there as well.
Of course there is, mate. Someone's making money out of it.
Yeah.
We'll give you a government contract if you train 1,000 illegal migrants to integrate in society. One of the things we see as part of that is giving them the ability to get themselves around. So we will fund you X amount of money in a government contract to put X amount of people through. And then what do you find? You find that British kids that have paid their money are then having their fucking tests cancelled because the queue's been jumped by a bunch of other people. And I know people in my area that have had this happen. My niece, I don't know if this is 100% accurate, but I think she was delayed for 2 months on taking her test because they just kept getting put off. And she kept asking why, and they never really got 16, 17-year-old kids ain't sitting demanding the answers, are they? The parents were, and they were getting no response. So this kind of shit, it's not just about illegal migrants. There is so much more to it. And when you start tying inheritance tax, ISA tax, business rate tax, the policy for getting landlords out to protect, and then the renters protection, who does that protect? All the fucking migrants that they're putting in the houses.
Yeah. The thing is, and we need to stop thinking of this as a country because I think
it's a business.
It's a business, and it's a very corrupt, fraudulent business, and we're just like low-paid workers, essentially, getting screwed
Slaves,
over every
mate.
twist and turn with no real rights. The law isn't really the law. Our rights aren't really our rights. It's a corrupt business. This is not a country. The West is not. The world is not. Yeah, it's a business. That's the only way I can put it. Let's have a little. £150. I used to pay £22. Yeah, I think when I started in like I did mine through the army, but the going rate was like, I didn't pass my test till like 2016, and I think it was about £40 then. So it's gone up massively. You may have seen this, Bruce. You may not have done. Elon Musk shared it on X yesterday. It is a movie. I've downloaded it to my phone because it was only up for 48 hours.
The German one.
Is Vigilante or Citizen Vigilante, is it? Yeah, I'll be watching that tonight myself. I can't remember who's just said that, but
been banned across a lot. There's the trailer, isn't there? The trailer where he's basically just questioning Islam, isn't he?
You won't be able to watch that anywhere but X in terms of social media or like Reddit. You know, some of the forums.
Arnie Hammer, isn't it? Who's the actor? Because he's been now basically chalked off by Hollywood, hasn't he?
Oh yeah, those actors, anyone involved in that will never get a gig again.
Yeah, I've seen it, mate. But like that's the thing, and it's kind of I think it's just a continuation of where we started this tonight. Is I think that goes back to that. There's a lot of people out there think that you're just going to walk into Parliament and pull these people out, but it's so much bigger than that. And it's going to take a long, long time. It's going to take people to, unfortunately, be patient. Because otherwise, like I've said before, I think we just hand them something that just gives them more power. I can't tell people what the answer is. I have my support. I know who I'm putting my hat in with. But yeah.
Oh,
Would I love to see a perfect working class political party with people that you can, who can you trust? Honestly.
And the thing is, so someone's just said, "Oh, you never see a poor MP." The thing is this, right? Angela Rayner was on a 98 grand a year salary, is it, Bruce, as an MP? 99 grand, something like that. Call it 100k.
Yeah, 100K.
She's come from very humble beginnings, apparently, had nothing until about 10 years ago, and her net worth is currently sat at around £5 million. Is it making sense?
And they're
yet?
all like it, mate. Zara
Yeah.
Sultana, do you know what Zara Sultana's net worth is? 1.7 million.
And she's on a salary of what? Well, similar, won't it? Yeah,
£97,000 a year.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, you can say, "Oh, I mean, fucking, if you want not a laugh, that's the wrong way to put it. If you want to be genuinely shocked, that's a better way to put it, because it's never funny what I'm about to say. If you want to be genuinely shocked, please do this, because it's really good reading, especially with a drink. Go onto the government website and look at MP's expenses that they filled out and declared. And these are people saying we support upping the TV license to support the BBC while claiming their BBC license on their expenses. I've got it all together. It's almost funny, is what I'm trying to say. Angela Rayner declared personal hygiene products because she had to have them at multiple addresses so that she didn't have to carry it all around with her. It's insane.
They don't
what
pay
these
for anything.
people.
They
Nothing.
don't pay for anything.
But this is my point. Even on 100 grand a year, it's going to take you 10 years to get £1 million and pay literally nothing. No holidays, no nothing. Of course they're taking backhand deals. I saw it firsthand. I worked with Downing Street. I don't know if you know this, Bruce. I might have told you, actually.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Years ago when I was in the army, I worked in logistics, and I was one of a few people who were picked to go and work with Downing Street during the PPE crisis. And the PPE crisis was essentially people within government giving contracts to their friends who, had shares in or owned a factory out in China where they were making FFP3 masks, Clinell wipes, the latex gloves, that Bruce likes to use on a Saturday night.
Some of this was construction site stuff, wasn't it?
Yeah.
They
There was
said
all
they were
sorts.
repurposing it, and it was never done, was it?
Yeah,
It's bullshit.
it was. I have to be very careful what I say, but I know from my first-hand experience that a lot of PPE was getting sent to incinerators and burned just to justify buying more PPE and spending more taxpayer cash to secure more contracts for their friends out in China.
I don't think that's a secret anymore, is it, mate? I think they've ousted this.
Is it not?
This has all no, I don't think it's a secret, mate. I think this is published now. And the thing is they created this whole, because what's her name? Michelle Mone was the one that the kind of they turn around and like, she's the one we're going to put on the chopping block. So obviously people like Matt Hancock and that all skulked off into the background, didn't they? All the conservative politicians that were part of this all skulked off, either resigned or whatever, and just disappeared into the ether. Michelle Mone was the one who was then put on the chopping block because she got something like 234 million in PPE contracts, her organisation, and something to do with her husband as well. And then they had her up in court, and nothing ever really came off of that. I remember because it's the typical thing. Something happened in the like it might have been the general election or something, but it all kind of just disappeared conveniently. And then there's you'll see the odd newspaper like the Spectator or the Independent or someone will try and do an article on it, which largely goes on. I mean, how many people are the Independent getting read that? 5,000 people, 10,000 people in the country who are particularly going to see that article, and then it all just disappeared in the ether. And nothing. No one has ever been held account for this stuff.
No, and this is the thing. So
Jailed.
So YouTube Viewing On has just said, I saw a story saying taxpayers were paying for the warehouse storage for unusable PPE. It's far worse than that. I'm glad it's all come to light now. So I had to sign NDAs. Obviously, there's the Official Secrecies Act and all the rest of it, but then things start to come out. So I'll break it down really simply. I got a phone call during lockdown. I was at the local Aldi with a trolley full of panic bought goods. I had to leave it all in the supermarket because I was told pack some civilian clothing. You go into London. Got to London, myself and 8 others. I worked in logistics. I was a logistical supply specialist. Put up in a 4-star hotel, given my own car. Like it was mega. Sat in briefings with Chris Whitty, Matt Hancock. Like it was in depth, and we were basically told we had to save London because they'd bought all this PPE, shipped it over to the UK,
And
then,
just you weren't really awake then, was you?
no, I was massively asleep, mate. Like I was
Yeah.
not awake at all. But this is where my journey sort of began. With kind of waking up to it all. So we were basically told, oh, we've bought the PPE, it's in the country, but the NHS up until COVID had no real means of tracking material like goods, syringes, Clinell wipes, masks, all the rest of it. So what was happening was it was being bought in bulk. And then it just so happened that they didn't have any system in place to track how much stock they had. So they just kept ordering and ordering and ordering. Yeah. So during
Contract
COVID,
after contract
after contract. We don't know how much we've got. Let's just keep giving more money to our mates who own the factories and getting contracts put together. Very corrupt. And so our job was to go undercover as area managers for ambulance hubs in London under London Ambulance Service. I've got all the evidence for this. I've got photos. I've got it all. And our job was to go round and try and find the PPE. And then once we found where they'd stashed it, because they'd shipped it all over from China, bunged it in a load of warehouses, as you say, taxpayer-funded warehouses that were largely disused, full of rats. The roos had come in, all the stock was getting soaked. It was awful. And what they did is they bunged it all in warehouses. And our job was to go and find it, round it all up, and then it could be redistributed amongst London Ambulance Service and the wider area. However, when we found this stuff, it very quickly came to light that the reason we were sent out to find all this gear was so that we could round it all up, put it into vans and send it off to incinerators to be incinerated to essentially hide the evidence. Now, it gets much worse than masks and Clinell wipes. I will wrap up in just a second. But what they were doing was this. There are 14, or there were at the time, 14 ambulance hubs in London where Bruce would fall over, he'd bang his vagina on the table and say, "Oh, I need an ambulance." And then they'd send an ambulance out. I'm trying to make it light-hearted because it's. I don't want people to lose
It's
attention.
scandalous, mate. Yeah.
They would send an ambulance out to Bruce and they'd say, you've hurt your genitals or you've scraped your knee or whatever. And usually what they would do is they would triage Bruce in his house and they'd go, "You're fine. You're just a bit of a wet wipe, like a plaster will do." No. They'd take Bruce out of his house because of COVID, because the paramedics don't want to be exposed to his, potentially, environment that could have COVID in the house. He might have COVID. So what they decided to do was take Bruce out of his house, into the ambulance, triage him there, then say, "You're absolutely fine," put him back in his house, and then take the ambulance back to one of the hubs and say, "This now might be infected with COVID because he's been in our ambulance while we've been triaging him." We're talking full CO2 bottles. We're talking anything and everything that's inside that ambulance that could be removed was removed, incinerated, and brand new stock was put in. Now, again, why?
Mate, and I do not,
Contracts.
it does not, for one second do I not doubt that.
Yeah. And no one, I think Andrew Bridgen has touched on some of this, but man, I swear, some of the things I could tell, I'd probably end up locked up or I'd disappear or something. But some of the things I could tell about that whole experience, it was a lot darker than that. Some of the stuff I saw was what woke me up. And as soon as I finished that work detail, they shipped me out to the Middle East. I was there for 8 months, came back, and I signed off from the army. I was like, yeah, I can't do this anymore. I can't work for these people because the corruption, mate, was just through the roof. There was a picture of Boris Johnson during COVID, and he sat on a wall like this, right? And everyone was on Facebook going, "Oh, look, he's really trying. He's trying his best. Oh, he's tired, blah, blah, blah." He was hungover. He was hungover because absolutely every single one of them, and I mean stunk of whiskey. They would drink in the morning, they'd drink through the day, they'd drink at night. And then I thought to myself, hold on. These people know how dangerous COVID is, yet they're all congregating together and having these parties. what's going on there? And that was that for me. That was, and I was like, hold on, we're rounding up all of this PPE equipment, and it's why are we just burning it all? And when you're asleep to this stuff,
you don't see
really
it,
question it because you're trained not to as well in the army. I think that's why they used us. And I was at this time.
No, Rich. Let me correct you on that. Yes, because you were in the army, but I think for most normal people, there is this sense of they're not corrupt. They represent us. They're the good people we elected. People out there believe.
Sorry, someone's written, I'm glad to learn they keep ambulances clean, but for fuck's sake, triage Bruce on the road. Sorry, Bruce.
Thank you very much for that.
Sorry, mate, what were you saying?
Dump him on the road. But that's the thing is, I think there are a lot of people, because like what you've said, that's been clarified in. But this is the thing: they never publish this stuff. You're never going to see a Daily Mail, Daily Telegraph, Guardian blast one day saying, "Do you realise all these people are saying they burnt all this stuff?" You'll never see that. It will be a page 10 article by a journalist where they're like, yeah, you can do a bit on it because we know that this is going to go out to 30% of the nation and about 10% of them are actually going to see it and about 3% will actually talk about it. So we probably whittled it down to about 10,000 people. And those 10,000 people, we can just turn around and say conspiracy theory and everyone will say you're just making up bullshit. But it's been published in a newspaper article. And these things, this info's out there. Like,
and this is the thing, I could put this out there. I've still got the like the freight, like the manifests and stuff, you know, where the stocks come over, because they've given it to us and said, you know, there was one, I think it was 5.6 or 6.5 million pounds worth of stock sat in a warehouse, and the freight manifest was like 3.5 weeks old, and it was like, yeah, incinerate the lot. And I remember thinking, what is going on here? Like, it was all still wrapped. Like it was fine. It was perfectly fine. But yeah, it's the corruption goes so deep, man. It goes so deep.
And this is the thing is, like, I think everyone who's listening to this now, mate, and especially yourself,
but we can't afford to fix
always tying these things up, though, isn't it? It's tying these things together and seeing the patterns. Why are we all given a hosepipe ban now? And why is our water bills keep going up? Why do they keep charging us more money to fix stuff that seems to never get fixed? Why are we paying higher electric bills for renewable energy stuff that breaks and doesn't really work properly? Why did this scandal happen in COVID? And look who's behind it all. It's the same fucking people every single time. And I get what people are saying about the clear out and about the people having to stand up, but it's so frustrating. It's mortally frustrating.
I remember, because someone's just written about, so Louise Richards has said, you know, I never fell for it. Maybe I could see the shitification from the trees. Like, I would have fallen for it. And to begin with, I was like, oh my God, this is really bad. I've had COVID twice that I know of. The first time, I wouldn't have known if my wife hadn't attested. She worked in childcare at the time, so she had to test if she got, you know, the sniffles or something. And I think she just wanted the day off work, to be honest with you, or a week. So she tested positive, and I was like, oh, I'll test as well. Tested positive, both fine. But I think I had to isolate for like 5 days, something like that.
Yeah.
So we were absolutely fine. I caught it the second time. Wow. I was poorly, mate, because it is a flu. However, I've never had a single jab, and that comes off the back of, and I won't go into this yet because I have to be very careful what I say. I saw and heard enough that made me think, I am not getting that bloody jab. I am not.
Yeah, because you were on the inside. Yeah.
Yeah, so I never got it, but very, very lucky that I kind of got to see what was happening and what was being discussed in these like briefing rooms and stuff in real time. But a lot of people have had these jabs. You go on the British Heart Foundation website now, and it's got a whole section on the COVID jab and myocarditis and how there's been like a stupid, it's a massive percentage sort of rise in people dropping down dead, and it's directly linked to the COVID jab.
Yep. I'm sure everyone knows I had it, and but I think a lot of people might not know the reasons why.
Well, you had COVID or you had the jab?
I had COVID 3 times, same as you. First one, wouldn't have even known I had it. Second one felt like a bad cold. Third one felt like the flu.
Yeah.
But I had the jab because my little baby boy was born the week we went into the very first lockdown.
Yeah.
So you've got this entire propaganda machine telling everybody that everyone's going to die. Italian news is being blasted to you every day. I've got a fucking baby in my arms. Like, right.
Yeah,
So I
and do you
made
know
the
what, mate?
decision. So I
A
had
lot
the
of
first
people,
one.
a lot of people say now, "Oh, I feel so stupid because I had it." Like, don't. At the end of the day, this was probably one of the biggest psyops in history, where
Yeah.
guys, they put arrows on the floor in Tesco and
And
convinced
people,
millions of people that if they didn't follow those arrows, people would die. Like,
yeah.
they had
Yeah.
people grassing up their neighbor next door, of course, next door, because it's their
Yeah.
fucking neighbor rich, for
Yeah.
£250 a go if they had
Yeah.
their family round who they hadn't seen for weeks. People who had lived next door to people for 20, 30, 40 years were grassing up their neighbor for seeing their children for 250 quid. Like, the thing.
Oh,
They'll
mate,
get you,
it exposed society
but it
and I
backfired.
think, yeah, I think well, I don't think it did because I firmly believe this is what they wanted.
I
I firmly believe the whole thing, everything about it was orchestrated. So they could see what people in the country would react, how many people there are in this country who would grass people up. I think they wanted to figure out the logistics of where people would travel, how fuel and electricity would be distributed when you kept people in their homes. I think they got a bank load of data off the back of that. And if you then start looking at 15-minute cities and putting people in communities and electrical distribution, it makes sense. It makes sense.
No,
Who
I
would
think they
comply with
wanted
the
to see how.
rules.
Well, I know they wanted to see how. Like I say, I was sat in briefings where people would come in and say, "Hold on, why are we still using these masks? We know that they're not effective." And then someone else would say, "Because we fucking told them to." And that's literally how they'd speak. And if we tell them to do something, they'll fucking do it. And this is how like members of government and like they're called like nudge teams or nudge squads. If anyone's not
Yeah.
looked into it, like, oh, you know, Bruce, like
I
go
know.
and have a look
Yeah,
into them.
I was in education, mate. I was working in education, so we were basically told if you didn't have the jab, you weren't working for the college anymore.
Yeah, like just like you have to go and
And I
inject
was
this.
working through it. I was going on site. Yeah.
It's insane. People have I think it backfired in the sense that I think they expected more people to be compliant, and a lot of people just went, "No, I'm not doing this." And I think they were a bit like, "Oh." And I think whatever was supposed to happen during COVID has kind of kicked the can down the road a little bit, and that's what we're kind of seeing now.
Well, everything
And I
changed.
think
Everything changed.
the proof to that is 4 years ago, up until probably actually about 3 years ago, we were told you need to have this jab or you will die. You will kill your family. You need to stop the spread. First of all, it's a vaccine. Well, and you need like 12 of them. So it's not a vaccine then, because a vaccine literally vaccinates you against something. So they changed the terminology on that. But what they did was they said, you all have to get the vaccine or you'll lose your jobs. You'll kill your family. Like, it'll be really, really bad. And then as soon as people went, no, within months, immigration went through the roof and they started importing loads of people from countries that didn't have the vaccine. Do you know what I mean? It's, yeah.
Yeah, mate. I think it shifted society into what we've got today. What a lot of tribalism, people kick back, want bigger solutions to things. But yeah, I'm not ever going to sit. After about when I was in the situation I was in, so I was on site. Being told by my employer and by fucking everybody with this little tiny baby that if you don't get this done, your kid's going to die, which any parent would just be like, yeah, I'm not going to let that happen. So I had the first one, didn't have any of the ones afterwards, because by that time, for me, what I was doing assessing, I was working more from home, so I didn't have to go into the college. So then it was just me, my missus at the time, and my little one, and that was just us. My sister and brother were both working in education as well. They were working, they were considered like front line. So they were having to go into classrooms with all these kids. My sister saw through it quicker than I did, but within 9 months I'd cottoned onto it. And then that effectively 2020 was for me as well, when I was like, I'd been politically active since 2010, but my whole like looking into contracts and bills and it all came off the back of that,
And that's what I mean by
these,
it backfired for them.
Yeah,
I think
it woke a lot of people.
it woke a lot of people up. They tried. I mean, the army tried to send me to Colchester, to military prison, for refusing to take the jab because, like yourselves, you know, if you worked in the police, the NHS, if you were a teacher, you know, a public servant essentially, or, you know,
You're forced.
you had to take the job. And I refused point blank off the back of, so just to put this into context, I worked, as I say, in London with Downing Street, then went out to the Middle East. Whilst I was in the Middle East, I was supposed to get the job, but then they sent me to the centre, and I was like, the med centre, I was like, I really don't want this job, I really don't want this job. I'm going to tell them I'm not having it. I'm going to tell them I'm not having it. And then when I got there, they were like, oh, there aren't any jobs left. We've sent them to, I think it was Iraq or Afghanistan or something like that. It was part of the Hearts and Minds thing. We're going to send it out. It was like a healthcare thing. So like, oh, brilliant. So I couldn't have the job. Then when I flew back to the UK, it was, no, you're having the job now. Go to the med centre. We've got it in stock. And I remember going there, sitting down and arguing for like 40 minutes with this civilian doctor to say, look, I can't tell you because you're a civilian doctor, but I've seen enough based on what I'd done in London during COVID. I am not taking that job. It's not happening. And I got report. And in the end, they tried to court-martial me for disobeying direct orders, because I kind of had a pattern of doing it anyway, because I was a bit of a nightmare, to be honest with you. And then it come back that it was an illegal order. They couldn't force me to have it because it was a medical procedure. But they really tried to fucking send me to jail, mate, for not having
COVID
the
passports. You got to a point where people just wanted to go on holiday. Were being told that if you couldn't prove that you'd had the jab, you couldn't leave the country.
People were selling them, weren't they? They were making fake COVID passports and selling them. Like, there's a black market for COVID passports. It was brilliant.
Yeah, it was definitely a very, and a lot of people came off the, but I think it destroyed a lot, it destroyed a lot of relationships. It destroyed a lot of families. It destroyed a lot of friendships. It gave people like me and you, opened our eyes to what the fuck else are they capable of. Other people became more institutionalized, I'd say, who went with it. And there were obviously people who were kicking back from day one, like proper activists. I wouldn't say I was in that group, but I'm definitely now in the, right, I'm going to expose them for everything I can brigade. Like everything, not just one or two things, like as much as I can. Yeah. And I think you're the same, mate. So yeah, like you say, when you say it backfired, I think it did, because I think it galvanized people to just, and I think we've done a good job of that in this episode, or this live, is just highlighting from hose pipes to, but it is, mate,
being
isn't
an
it?
absolute rebel. Mad WG Prasher said we have a rebel in our ranks. Oh, that's that. I was promoted and then demoted twice. Oh yes, I'm quite the rebel.
Mate, I know, because this isn't just Showcat, because he's spoken to me in the background, and he's actually already spoke to me about this kind of stuff. Like, I know you were there, mate. You told me this story 6 months ago, so I think
I've told you about 12 times, haven't I?
You have. You're reinforcing,
Bit of a broken record. Guys, Bruce, if it's all right with you, I'm going to say, shall we wrap it up? Because, like, it's very warm, guys.
It gets worse, doesn't it? The humidity kicks in now, doesn't it? 7:15. Yeah, you're getting that low sun humidity.
As daft as it sounds, like just having the lights on, and then I've got my lights ahead of me so that you can see this ginger face like properly. Like the lights are really hot as well. So I reckon it's a good 50, 55 degrees in here. Easy.
He's like a swan match, any? Do you remember them?
What? A swan match? Oh,
yeah.
Yes!
Redhead, white.
Like the cooking matches.
Hey. You're not allowed them anymore, are you? You're not allowed the red ones. They're too dangerous.
Yeah, something to do with the top.
Did you know that as we sign off? You're not the red ones.
When I was a kid, mate, like I know kids like shouldn't be playing with matches, but we used to. Did you ever used to roll up the newspaper and like smoke it around the back of the house? Or was that just me?
No,
the things we breathed in, and now they're like, can't have those matches now. They're a bit toxic.
Yeah,
boy, you should have.
Well, no, it was because people used to turn them into bombs, weren't it? So the brown gunpowder, whatever, it's not gunpowder, is it? But the brown ones are not as highly flammable.
They used
as
to
the red
shave them
ones.
off, didn't they? And
people would
collect
shave
it
off
all.
them, buy like 10 matchboxes, shave them off. We used to do this, wrap them up in like thin sellotape, and then fucking put a thing in them and launch them like a grenade. Yeah, mate. They soon got rid of them. The things we used to do when we were kids compared to what they do now, like they ain't got a clue. They ain't got a clue.
Swano's just as bad. He's just messaged me there. What's he saying? I've been drifting in and out of sleep, but just caught the last 10, 15 of the live. He's saying I'm freezing on his phone. I hope that's not. That's probably his internet. Basically, he's just messaged the group. So Swano couldn't be here today. It wasn't because he was picking up ladyboys in Thailand. That was a couple of weeks ago. Because he's too tired, and this happens quite a lot, right? Even though he's not here, I'm still going for it. So he's just, even though he's not here now, he's just messaged me to let me know that he's very tired.
He's a proper good little boy, isn't he? He's a proper good boy, isn't he? He's a good lad, though. I think we're a bit harsh on him because we're of a generations that sucked it up, and he's actually one of the good ones out of his generation, though, isn't he? He's pretty clued up.
There are very few people I have met in like the online world who is in it for the right reasons and is a properly good lad.
He is one of the good ones, isn't he? He is definitely one of the good ones. Yeah, he's a good boy. He don't always. I'll never hear a bad word said about Swano.
No.
Apart from Rich just taking the piss out of him every now and again, but that's all given. We both do, to be fair. We both do rip him a bit.
It comes from a place of love and also jealousy because my wife says she finds him attractive. So there we go. Right. Thank you so much to everyone for watching. I have been Richard Donaldson. You can watch my show as well. It's the Richard Donaldson Show if you want on YouTube. Haha, I don't plug my show ever, so that's what I'm going to do. Guys, if you are watching on YouTube, Facebook, that's all we're on, isn't it, today? Please like, comment, subscribe, all that sort of good stuff. It really does help us. And once again, thank you for tuning in.
Yes, thank you very much, guys. I'm Bruce. He's Rich. And we'll see you again sometime soon, hopefully with a one in the middle, maybe.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Right, take care, guys. Thank you very much. Ta-ra.
Bye.